The latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
It was on, it was off, and now the ceasefire is back on. Good morning, Amy Jacobson here. Jim Urio in for Dan Proft. So glad you're here as always.
Thank you very much.
And you were here at the beginning of the show when we were celebrating Trump for his accomplishments.
And then uncelebrating?
And then uncelebrating because Trump was upset because apparently Iran bombed an Israeli city of Beersheba, and it killed 4 civilians after the U.S. brokered ceasefire deal had gone into effect, and Israel was about to strike back, and Trump was having none of it.
I think they both violated it. I'm not sure they did it intentionally. They couldn't rein people back. I don't like the fact that Israel went out this morning at all, and I'm going to see if I can stop it. So as soon as I get away from you, I'm going to see if I can stop it. I'm not happy with Israel. You know, when I say, okay, now you have 12 hours, you don't go out in the first hour and just drop everything you have on them. So I'm not happy with them. I'm not happy with Iran either. You know what? We basically have 2 countries that have been fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the they're doing. Do you understand that?
I'm still shocked by that.
Why about the F-bomb? All right, so he has just put on Truth Social within the last few minutes, Israel is not going to attack Iran. All planes will turn around and head home while doing a friendly wave he did to Iran, wrote Trump on Truth Social. Nobody will be hurt. The ceasefire is in effect. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Donald J. Trump, President of the United States.
I love how he throws in "thank you for your attention to this matter" like it's some sort of call service on some. So
he's very thorough with his tweets and his social media postings.
But this is something we talked about at the beginning of the show. Like, what is this whole? You got 12 hours to stop throwing punches.
As somebody in the military told me that the missiles were already programmed to go off,
and we can't unprogram them.
It's between Israel and Iran.
Okay,
so Iran or what she said I was pronouncing.
Yeah, she said you pronounced it wrong, and yet you're.
Oh, I was saying Iran.
Yeah.
No, it's Iran.
Iran, right.
All right, with more on this, let's welcome back to the program the best in the business, Scott McKay, publisher of The Hayride.
Oh, my goodness.
I'm not done talking. Senior editor at the American Spectator and author of Racism, Revenge, and Ruin and King of the Jungle. Good morning, Mr. McKay. How are you?
Howdy, y'all, and happy ceasefire. I apologize for stepping over that introduction, but my cup was running over, so I had to do something about that.
All right, so is your head spinning like ours are? So do you think now this is officially on, this ceasefire?
Well, I mean, look, I think the ceasefire is a magnificent achievement, and my expectations for how long it lasts are meager. The problem that the purveyors of the ceasefire have is the Iranian government is not really calibrated for peace, right? What is their reason for being if they don't have external enemies to fight? Right? I mean, are you going to deliver economic prosperity to your people or freedom or, any of the things that one normally expects out of a competent government? They haven't done any of that in 46 years. What they've done is yell death to America in the streets and, take oil money and, bribe money from Western nations and spend it on Hamas and Hezbollah and the Houthis. If there's a ceasefire and they stick to it, they can't do any of that stuff. So what do? And they don't know how to do any of the other things.
Well, they did cut off the internet, and they have, I didn't know this, but 60% of their population is 30 years and younger. And if they wanted to organize against their government, how can you if you don't have the internet to plan things?
Starlink, I guess, is the answer to that.
Yeah.
But and we'll see if you can do that. I mean, they've done poll after poll in Iran, which is kind of amazing that they can pull that off. And it's the approval of this regime is somewhere between 5 and 15%, and it makes you wonder how 90% of the people in a country will put up with a government they can't stand. And one of the things that happened along the way before this ceasefire was that the Israelis took out like military installation after military installation for both the IRGC and the Besiege, which is essentially this regime's Gestapo. Like those are the people that run out in the streets and like beat you up if you're a woman and you don't have, the headscarf on, right? Yeah. They hit the Besiege like really hard in a bunch of key cities. So like it's never been, I'm not going to say easier, but it's never been a more advantageous position if you're a dissident in Iran to do something about it. They even hit the front door of Evin prison in Tehran, which is like the Alcatraz of Iran, where they put all the political dissidents. I don't know if anybody got out, but like the symbolic part of that, really, I don't know which political consultant in Israel came up with that idea, but knocking out the front door of that prison was such a symbolic win.
It's a statement. This exclamation point, Scott. Just bam.
Oh, I mean, you're like, here, hi, we're Israel. You hate us, and we're the people that knocked down the front door of your gulag.
Yeah. Yes. Something you said.
That was brilliant.
Well, people that are stuck in there said it's like living in a coffin.
Yeah.
Jeez.
It's
that you have to eat.
It's a really, really bad prison.
It's the worst in the world.
Yeah. I think something you said kind of encapsulates this whole story and gets right to the heart of it. You said that the regime, they're literally their whole pillars of what they exist on is conflict and the perception that everyone's out to get them and we have these enemies and they try to rule through hatred. Amy made the point that 60% of the population is under 30. You made the point that you don't think anything gets better, but is the door kicked open for actual regime change? And I fully acknowledge that the United States does not have the greatest track record when they come in and change regimes. But is there a chance that the Iranian people will actually rise up and do the right thing themselves?
Well, you hope so. And I've written a couple of pieces at the American Spectator over the last, week or so, basically say, like, we cannot be the agent of regime change in Iran.
Amen.
We can't do it.
Yep.
Okay. And and this isn't like, obviously Iraq and Afghanistan proved it. I think Ukraine is kind of proving it too. And it's not this is not me attacking the United States. No country can institute a legitimate regime change in another country. This is something the people of, the country who needs a regime change must do. Period. I mean, anything else is not legitimate, and ultimately it's going to fail. We've kind of sort of instituted a regime change when the Shah took over from Mossadegh, but that's a really complicated story in Iranian history. We're still blamed for that. Chances are it would blow back if we got involved in this. But I mean, this is a young country. They've done poll after poll. The majority of the Iranians are like more pro-American than Americans are.
Right.
And so they have to act on that.
Their time is now. Yeah.
Dangerous.
Right.
Yeah. And I mean, like it's a dangerous thing. That regime's not going to go quietly. They will get violent very quickly. But you've got the overwhelming mass of the people who want this regime gone. There's a piece Brian Kennedy wrote at the American Mind last week, and he had numbers that blew me away. The estimate of mosque attendance on Fridays in Iran ranges from 1.5 to 12% of the population. Okay. Which this is a country run by theocrats, and yet it is far and away the least religious country in the Muslim world.
Okay.
If that 1.5% estimate is correct, this will blow you away. There might actually be more people in church on Sunday than mosque on Friday in Iran, because Christianity is like the fastest growing religion there. People are converting to Christianity all the time. Even prison is full of pastors who are trying to convert people to Christianity. So, like, the whole point is there is no basis for that regime to have power in Iran. Like, there's no basis for it. And so this is up to the people over there. If they turn that government over, it sounds really, really lofty to say we could be looking at a golden age of peace in the Middle East. But honestly, if this Iranian regime were to go away, I'm not real sure where the conflict is going to come from. I mean, obviously there are places it could come from, but like none of them are really that active at the moment. It's Iran that causes all this.
Yeah.
And so if they go away, I mean, yeah, sure, you got Pakistan and India, but like that's not strictly speaking the Middle East. And it might be that you could get these people to get along for a while. You know,
and then Trump will win the Nobel Peace Prize.
Well, I don't know what else you'd give it for, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
that's true. That's peace in the Middle East. Are you kidding me? All right, so the main question that everybody has is where is the highly enriched uranium? Because on Thursday they had satellite images that showed 16 semi-trucks outside the Fordow nuclear site. So did they haul anything away?
I would expect they probably did, but the thing about enriched uranium is apparently there are ways to detect that. I don't know if it's from satellites or if it's you fly drones over but I mean it gives off a signature apparently. So I don't know where they would move it to. Obviously that's an issue that would need to be addressed. And this is like one more reason why we really could use a regime change over there.
Right.
I'd be happy to throw a little foreign aid Iran's way in exchange for the enriched uranium.
Wow. All right. So where do we go from here? What do you predict is going to happen next? Is Israel going to stand down? Because that just seems like a big ask. If you've been fighting for 40 plus years and it's a new day.
Well, I'm guessing they'll stand down on Iran, but I can't even imagine that Hamas doesn't do something horrible to kick that fight back off in Gaza. Or, what's been relatively quiet is the West Bank, and you could certainly see something happen over there. I mean, I don't expect that all of a sudden Israel gets left alone. I don't expect that happens. Trump getting them not to bomb Iran in return for the missile that hit Beersheba was a big win. So if something else happens to the Israelis, they're shooting again. And then I'm not going to say you're back to square one because maybe it's not directly Israel and Iran, but you're going to have tanks and planes over Gaza and, or West Bank or wherever, and we'll be back at this before too long. But, hey, it's quiet now, and we should be somewhat grateful for that.
By the way, I think this is breaking news. I'm about to say, I think this was within the last minute, which makes me feel like a real live big boy journalist for a second.
Okay, here we go.
But I believe within the last minute, Trump said, I don't want to see regime change in Iran. Regime change makes chaos. Now, the reason I believe it's true is because 3 different news sources that I follow on Twitter have said that. Now, again,
did you put that on Truth Social?
But I don't see it coming from Truth Social, but Live Squawk, Inside Paper, these things are not exactly, I can't speak to the reputable nature of them as breaking news stories, but when 3 of them at the same time say it, to me it makes it seem like he did. So I'm not saying I know it for sure. But again, I would also, he wants tensions to come down. It probably would be the wrong time to talk about regime change in the half hour after a ceasefire has been agreed to. So even if he did say that, he does want regime change. It would be stupid not to, right, Scott?
Yeah, well, I think there's a certain strategic quality to that because, over the weekend he put out a Truth Social post and he's like, why can't we talk about regime change in Iran? And that was while he was trying to get them to agree to a ceasefire, he's rattling their cage. Now that they've agreed to a ceasefire, he's going to say nice things about them.
Good.
That doesn't change the formula on the ground in Iran. And so if the people of Iran go and, get in the streets and, there's a move made toward whether it's a military coup or the crown prince shows back up and takes control, like whatever that is. I mean, our posture should be and probably will be that it's not our problem, and we're just not going to be involved. Because if we are, we'll ruin it. I mean, everybody knows that at this point. So
I love that cynicism. That's because we could be friends.
Scott
Yes.
McKay. Yes. All right, Scott McKay, what are you working on for today? Anything you want to tease?
There's an American Spectator column that's up that kind of summarizes the most recent developments as of last night. It's called So Far So Good, which I'm qualifying that, now that we've had some of the overnight events. But even still, there isn't a fresh set of bombs. So far so good. And I've got another one coming. We're going to talk about a few things. But check out the Spectacle podcast over at the American Spectator, which is Melissa McKenzie and my podcast. We're going to be talking about Iran. We're going to be talking about the implosion of the Democratic Party, which is a narrative filled with data points that we can see, and some other things. So be checking that out at spectator.org.
And I'm sure you're going to be keeping an eye on the New York mayoral race. Well, the primaries today. It's election day.
Could this be the race that Curtis Sliwa actually wins in New York? I mean, you would say
my
Curtis
cat
can't
man.
win,
He's the
but-
cat man. He's got like 42 cats in his one-bedroom apartment in New York. You know that, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, and you'd say he's not electable, but then you look at this guy Mamdani and you're like, maybe like the bar on electability just came way down, so who knows?
And what about Cuomo? I mean, Handsy Cuomo.
Well,
I mean, he does have the best name recognition, obviously.
Well, you would, yeah, but not for all the right reasons. I go back to in my home state of Louisiana, we had a gubernatorial election back in 1991 where David Duke, as a protest vote, because everybody hated Buddy Roemer, the incumbent governor, and they also hated Edwin Edwards, who was the crooked Democrat who was back again to run for governor. A bunch of people voted for Duke because they were so disgusted. Nobody thought Duke would make the runoff, and yet he did. And so there was an Edwards-Duke runoff, and all the bumper stickers said, "Vote for the crook, it's important." This is kind of that. The only thing is it's the Democratic primary, and so if Cuomo doesn't beat this guy, and you get the Sharia-promoting Muslim mayor, right, of the city that got hit on 9/11, the optics of that are not good, and so maybe there's a safety valve, which is you get the old guardian angel guy in there and hope for the best. So I don't know.
This is why we love having you on. You're brilliant. I forgot about all that. All right, Scott McKay, you can follow him on X at the Hayride. Scott, always a pleasure. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
You too. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
This is the morning show more Chicago radio listeners are choosing. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Are you looking for a peaceful and enduring resting place for yourself or a loved one? Discover Fairview Memorial Park in North Lake, Illinois, a tranquil haven where your family's legacy can be honored for generations. We're excited to announce the upcoming completion of our beautiful new garden mausoleum opening this spring, offering both above-ground